Oh, I should change the light colors. 1 second. So it's October. Halloween's almost here. My goodness. I have been wanting to do something on this channel for Halloween. Honestly, the last few years, I wanted to do something for Halloween and just never really got around to it. So today, I'm doing something kind of, it's pretty low-key. Halloween's my favorite doggone time of the year. I love the month of October in general. I'm returning to my roots. Really, I'm revisiting one of my earliest exposures to horror as a genre, and one of the things that really taught me to love horror as a genre, creepypastas. I'm looking through the famous creepypastas, and there are a couple on here that are pretty iconic. There's a sequel to Jeff the Killer. We're gonna start with one of my old favorites, and one that probably aged the worst. That is Jeff the Killer. There it is. There's a big, the picture everyone knows about. You've all seen it. All right. Is everyone ready? Everyone's gathered in the circle? After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he's survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells the story. "I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night," says the boy. "I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, and a little ray of light illuminating from between my curtains were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. He said, 'Go to sleep.' I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash like glass breaking. As I came out of the room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out it to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing, I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes, that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still looking for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house was not to love. As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you." "Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. I think if I were a professional writer, I'd probably take issue with this, but whatever. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons, Jeff and Lou." The amount of ads is unacceptable. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons, Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down in his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much pain, but a weird feeling. Okay. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. Excellent use of imagery. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it as he and Lou finished breakfast. They walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. Hey, what the hell? This is, really eloquent. I don't know how to like word it, but there's like a level of informality in the narration here that it like makes the story hard to take seriously. Like if you want us to be scared, if you're writing an earnest horror story like this, you can't say shit like some kid on a skateboard jumped over them. The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. Well. Looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, the other two kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. Excellent use of, really good use of imagery here. I love how descriptive the author is about these characters. Really, I mean, like, I can really picture, this kid. He is huge. Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith. Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They looked over at the okay. All right, guys. I'm not reading that. I, said the first kid, am Randy. For all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift. Lou stood up ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes when one of the kids pulled a knife on him. Oh, dear. Okay. I'd hope you'd be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way. The kid walked up to Lou and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else. This, like, decom-ass writing. Smart house dialogue. Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. Where do these kids get knives? Oh, and what'll you do? Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. These are middle schoolers. These are literal middle schoolers. These are like 7th and 8th graders. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. Just as he fell, he puked all over. This author, really great narrator. Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. Does Jeff have, like, superpowers? Does Jeff have, like, unless part of the thing, unless the implication is supposed to be that Jeff has some supernatural ability when he's enraged. This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous scene. Jeff, was all he said. They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing. So they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids. But Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was. The urge to just hurt someone. I don't like the use of that comma. I don't think that's proper use of a comma. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. He felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Okay, that's what bothers me about Jeff the Killer. That's why Jeff the Killer sucks. He's just a shitty Joker. He has a smile carved into his face. Part of his backstory is that he has, like, acid spilled on his face. That's why his face is all pale. Like, that's part of the Joker's backstory is he's, like, dropped into a vat of chemicals. Like, if you read The Killing Joke, that's a big thing, is he's burned by ace chemicals, and that's why his face is all, like, fucked up. In, the Dark Knight trilogy, it is implied that, his smile is carved into his face. It's scars. He's always asking, "You want to know how I got these scars?" Jeff the Killer is just a shittier Joker. Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids. That it wasn't regular fighting. That they were stabbed. Stabbed, son!" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach. And we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. We could say him and Lou had been attacked, but then there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it since it was he who beat up all the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner and they both nod. "Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie." "Wait," says Lou. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. "It was me. I beat up those little punks. I have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Son, just put the knife down," said the officer. Lou held the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, it was me. I did it." Jeff had tears running down his face. "Huh. Poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away." The police led Lou out to the patrol car. "Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids." Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop." Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car speeds off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway. Seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it?" Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by, with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. "Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Things are about to get crazy. Things are about to get serious. Jeff, it's the day," she said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room. "Oh, what? What's today? Asked Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party. He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. The past days? Now get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party. I'll let it slide. Son, is that all you're going to wear? Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with his dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. You're wearing that? They both said. His mother looked at her watch. No time to change, let's just go, she said as she herded herself and his father out the door. They knocked the door, and at it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, were way overdressed. This sentence is all sorts of fucked up. I'm just gonna ignore that. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults. No kids. The kids are out in the yard, Jeff. How about you go meet some of them, said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in the Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. Hey, wanna play? He said. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please, said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend shoot at the kids. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off Lou. So he played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. Oh, it's happening. Oh, it's happening. Oh, it's happening. The Joker origin story. Hello, Jeff, is it? He said. We have some unfinished business. Jeff saw his bruised nose. I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you and you get my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today. As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith were both pulled guns out of their pockets. These are middle schoolers. These are 7th and 8th graders. Why? Where are they getting guns? Someone is a very irresponsible gun owner to have allowed two 13-year-olds to get a hold of their guns. No one interrupts or guts will fly, they said. They both said in unison. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Youch! Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy grabbed him. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me! He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff, look at me. Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for the whole year. You should be ashamed. Jeff starts to get up. Oh, finally. You stand and fight. Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he starts to get that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. Finally, he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff, and when it happens, something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop as Randy gasps for breath. Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Incredible literature. This is peak fiction. Everything about what just transpired. He punches this kid in the heart so hard that it kills him, that the kid's heart stops beating. That's awesome. That's so cool. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach. Come on. I know you can do better than that. A container. A bottle. It's not hard. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best as he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. Come on. This is ridiculous. You know this is ridiculous. This is absurd. What's so funny? Asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. What's funny, he said, is that now you're covered in bleach and alcohol. Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. Okay, so it wasn't burned by well, it was kind of burned by chemicals. Well, the alcohol burned him. The bleach bleached his skin. This person's writing is really bad. I'm so sorry. The story is really poorly written. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. That's how a doctor would describe it. Some tube? Yes. Well, your arm's kind of fucked up, so we put some tube on it. I don't know. Thank you, doctor. And when he tried to get up, it fell out and a nurse rushed in. I don't think you can get out of bed yet, she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. Honey, are you okay? She asked. Jeff couldn't answer though. His face was covered and he was unable to speak. Oh, honey. I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed to trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go. This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again. Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it, what he looked like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. Let's hope for the best, said the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face. We love redundancy. What happened to my face? Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face, it's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color. His hair was singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. Jeff, said Lou, it's not that bad. Not that bad, said Jeff. It's perfect. His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. Nice lack of punctuation there, by the way. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay? Okay. I've never felt more happy. Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me. He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. I hate this. No great author is like, well, you may recall earlier in the story. Like, obviously there's like calling back to an earlier event in the story, but you have to have some like grace to it, and you have to actually write it, you know, as like a flashback or as a memory. They're not just like, hey, do you the reader remember this thing I said earlier? Also, just like, show don't tell. That's like the first thing everyone tells you about good writing is show, don't tell. Don't explain to us what Jeff is thinking. Write it from his perspective. Show us like what is happening in his mind that is causing this breaking of sanity. Don't just tell us, oh, this is the part where he goes insane. Doctor, said Jeff's mom, is my son all right, in the head? Oh, yes, this behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him a psychological test. Oh, thank you, doctor. Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go. Jeff looks away from the mirror, his face still formed into a crazy smile. Hey, mommy. His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. This is what came in, said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. This sucks. Like, they're gonna die tomorrow. Just so you know, they're about to die. Don't tell us what's about to happen. Let us find out. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. Jeff, what are you doing? Jeff looked over to his mother. Couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now he can smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes ringed in black. Jeff, your eyes. His eyes were seemingly never closing. Well, I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself, my new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, saying that her son was going insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful? Yes, son. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. Honey, get the gun. Wait. She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway holding a knife. Mommy, you lied. That's the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with the knife, gutting both of them. Real descriptive. It wouldn't have been like cool. We certainly wouldn't have liked to like see like a cool death scene for these characters. That totally isn't like a big part of the appeal of like stories about killers like this. This totally isn't like a cop out of a kill scene. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, Jeff said. Just go to sleep. Okay, so that was Jeff the Killer. Oh my goodness. I liked reading this. Generally, my review is pretty bad. Not a very well written story, and I know there is like there's a reboot out there on the same website, so maybe I can check that one out, and maybe it's better. But I really don't have high hopes. Just the lack of imagery. If you're gonna write this like fucked up, dark, disturbing story about a serial killer, make it fucked up. Make the reader uncomfortable. Don't spare us from the violence and shit, you know? The writing is just very it's informal in a way that I feel like a story that's trying to be earnest, that's trying to be dark and earnest and disturbing, having it say shit like a thing of bleach spilled on him. It's ridiculous. Suspension of disbelief kinda is another issue I had with it, is just where are these 12 and 13-year-olds getting knives and guns, you know? This 13-year-old boy is breaking people's wrists and he's gutting his parents. Cool shit. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everybody.